Good day everyone, my name is Norjehanie Mangondaya, and now we're going to talk about the strengths and weaknesses of criterion reference testing or CRT. Now, we just have a recap. So criterion reference test or CRT measures students' performance against specific learning targets rather than comparing students to one another. Understanding both the strengths and limitations of CRTs is essential for educators making assessment decisions. So firstly, we're going to talk about the strength. Now, close alignment with classroom instruction, which makes the result directly useful for both teaching and learning. So meaning, criterion reference tests or CRTs are directly connected to what is taught in class, making the results immediately useful for both teachers and students. Because the test items measures the same learning objectives covered in lessons, the result clearly show whether students have achieved specific targets. This alignment allows teachers to identify which skills have been mastered and which need more practice, so helping them adjust instruction effectively and provide targeted support for the students. Now, another strength is that results are easy to interpret since students' scores clearly indicate whether they achieved the learning target, according to NWEA 2024. So this benefits students by clarifying expectations and help teachers identify who requires additional support. So meaning, CRTs produced clear and straightforward results that shows whether students have met the learning standards instead of providing a vague overall score. They indicate mastery of specific skills or objectives. This clarity helps students understand what is expected of them and what they need to improve, while teachers can easily see who needs additional help. As a result, CRTs promote transparency in learning goals and make assessment feedback more meaningful and actionable. And now let's move on to the weaknesses. So one challenge is determining appropriate CAT scores. If the standard is set too high or too low, the test results may not be valid. Meaning, one major challenge in CRTs is determining the correct passing or mastery score. If the CAT score is set too high, even capable students may be labeled as not proficient. If it is set too low, students may move forward without adequate skills. Setting these standards requires expert judgment and careful testing to ensure fairness and accuracy. When CAT scores are not properly established, the validity and reliability of the test results can be compromised, leading to misleading conclusions about student performance. And another limitation is that certain language skills such as fluency in oral communication or cultural interpretation may be difficult to measure through fixed criteria. So certain language or performance-based abilities such as oral fluency, creativity, or cultural understanding are hard to assess using fixed criteria. These complex skills often require human judgment and cannot be fully captured by multiple choice or standardized formats. As a result, CRTs may fail to measure important aspects of learning that go beyond factual knowledge. To address this, teachers may need to combine CRTs with performance tasks, rubrics, or portfolio assessment to get a more complete view of students' ability. Now, CRTs can also lead to teaching to the test, where instructions becomes too narrowly focused on assessed objectives, potentially neglecting broader learning outcomes. So because CRTs focus on specific learning objectives, teachers might narrow instructions to only what will appear on the test. A practice known as teaching to the test, this can limit students' exposure to broader concepts, creativity, and critical thinking. While CRTs help ensure mastery of required skills, overemphasis on them may reduce the richness and diversity of learning experiences. So balancing CRTs with other assessment forms and activities can prevent this problem and promote more well-rounded learning. And for the last weakness of CRT is that it does not provide information on how students compare with their peers. They are less useful in contexts that require ranking, such as scholarship selection or competitive admissions. CRTs only shows whether a student has met specific learning standards, not how they compare to other students. This makes them less useful for ranking purposes, such as scholarship selection or competitive admissions. While this focus on individual achievement is good for learning, it limits the test's value in situations where comparison or competition is necessary. In such cases, CRTs are often paired with norm reference tests to provide both mastery level information and relative performance data. And now the key consideration for implementation. So when implementing criterion reference test, educator must carefully balance the benefits of clear learning targets with awareness of potential limitations. Success depends on thoughtful cut score development, comprehensive assessment design that captures diverse skills, and maintaining instructional focus on broader learning outcomes beyond tested objectives. Now, making the right assessment choice. So, best used for, of course, mastery learning environments, clarifying specific learning targets, identifying students needing support, and then direct alignment with instruction. And then consider alternatives when ranking or comparing students is needed, measuring complex language skills, broader learning outcomes matter, and CAT scores are difficult to establish. And that's all for the strengths and weaknesses of CRT. Thank you so much for listening.